It is my privilege to introduce Rennie Onders to share his job search story. And it's all you, Rennie. I appreciate you coming and sharing it today.
Yeah, anytime. Appreciate it. Can everybody hear me? I can't always tell
Yep,
with my
yep, yep.
headset in.
We can hear you good.
So, as Steve had said a minute ago, I'm Rennie Onders. I've been on here for quite a bit over the past 6 months. In fact, I hit my 6 month mark, 3 days ago. So it's been an interesting journey to say the least. It was very different for me because the 6 months that I've been out of work, uh, this is the longest I've been without a job since I started working when I was, a teenager. So being without a job was very interesting, and that was something that my wife had pointed out. She's like, "You've never really had not had a job." So I was like, "Yeah, this is very weird," but it leads me to my first thing that basically it gave me an opportunity to kind of reset uh, where I was in my life. When I first left the military after 24 years, I thought that everything was going to be good and that I'd roll into another career in which I'd stay there for 10, 15 years and then roll into an actual retirement. But it didn't turn out that way. So it gave me a chance to kind of reset and kind of understand that things weren't going to be as bad as I thought they were going to be. That life goes on and that I can survive, especially, like I said, I'm a military retiree. So I, I'm pretty blessed that I had some additional money that I didn't have to work. I can work, but I want to work because I want to be a part of the community. I want to, do things for others, and that's why I'm in HR is because I want to, help out and do that kind of thing. So it gave me a chance to reflect and reassess on my goals for life and things that I wanted to do and focus on. And I I kind of saw myself being a little bit less of my authentic self as I was growing at the company I was at. And that kind of carried over to my initial uh, look at how I was trying to get back into the workplace is that even though I kind of saw myself as an expert in transitions because the military forces you to have to go through these programs in order to transition. So you already get a lot of resume writing. You already get a lot of stuff for interviewing and speaking and all those things. So I kind of that's what I did. At my last job is part of my thing was to bring people on, and as I was doing that recruiting piece and kind of teaching people those things, I kind of became a little, I guess you would say, I wouldn't say pompous, but I got a little happy and kind of strong in my thought that I knew what it took to do this on the outside if I ever had to do it again. And I found out really quickly that regardless of what you know or what you think you know, that some of that stuff goes right out the window when you're trying to jump into the workplace again. So I really had to take things back, really reflect, which it gave me plenty of time to do, and that's what I did. So I did a little bit of evaluation on my career path and my skills and my interests, and kind of became more in tune with the fact that I was going to be at home a lot. I was already up at home a lot because it was a fully remote job, so I was already in that. But it shifts your balance a lot, even if that nothing really changes physically for you, that balance was really shifted a lot. So I had to really think about that and uh, even though I had more time, it almost seemed like I had less time because with the job searches and trying to walk the dogs and all the things, it kind of threw me off a lot. So I I identified some things that I enjoyed uh, and disliked in my previous role, and it kind of helped me figure out, what I wanted out of the next role. Obviously, money wasn't as much of a thing. I go from a six-figure salary uh, then to a not six-figure salary, but I think I'm going to be much happier doing what I do. I'll be working with the state. I'm working with the state of Utah, doing working in the Department of Government Operations. Uh, Basically, I'm doing what I did before as an HRBP, but it's an agency partner now, kind of doing that. But I'm back in government. I'm back with folks that seem like they're. It's definitely not about money, because that's not what state jobs are about. It's more about helping people and moving the organization and folks forward. So it gave me that chance to think about that. And really, it also gave me a chance to look at my short and long term goals. Um, Obviously, I want to keep helping people for a long time. So, what things can I knock out now, and what things would I be able to knock out a little further down the road? I did a lot of upskilling when it came to, and it was pretty fortunate because I had to re-up on my SHRM certification, and I'm working on finishing recertifying for my PMP. So while I'm doing that, it gave me a chance to really look at those things, see what things I wasn't as good at, and get better at it while I'm sitting here at my desk, you know, watching videos, writing papers, and interacting with folks online for those kinds of things. Um, Obviously, throughout that whole thing, you're going to update your application materials. It's not always going to be the same. Again, I was pretty fortunate that I didn't have to change a whole lot. I had a core set of resumes. I have a core set of uh, cover letters that I was putting out. I didn't have to change a whole lot because, again, for me, I got a lot of education before I left the military. I got a lot of certifications before I left the military, so I didn't have to change a whole lot, and there wasn't a whole lot of things that I needed to do. But I did see that as I was going through, there was some wording that maybe didn't apply as much. Like everybody was thinking that, hey, you need to go into a manager position or a director position. Um, it's like that may or may not be a thing. So I ended up changing a couple of words in there to just show professional, rather than just a manager, because then it kind of pigeonholes you into those particular areas. If that's not the way you want to go, you need to look at the wording in your documents and kind of change it to reflect that, to show that you're willing to do something else, whatever that may be, and it may fit the role a little bit better. So I did that. I did change my LinkedIn just a little bit because I felt that I was overemphasizing my military time, and yes, that it's literally half my life that I was in the military. So I had to, even though that means a lot to me and that means a lot to employers, they may not understand it as much. So I kind of changed around my LinkedIn a little bit. I moved my veteran stuff towards the end, just as a kind of a final note. Not to say that it's not a great thing, and for some people that works, but I had to move that around a little bit to show that, hey, first, I'm an HR professional. I've been doing this for a couple of years uh, in this space, and I want you to focus in on that. But I also have these skills, and I'm a veteran. Uh, my soul life isn't just being a veteran, so I wanted to change that up a little bit. I think that'll help a little bit, but uh, that remains to be seen. But I did change around my LinkedIn a little bit because of that. Focus on networking. Uh, Steve and I have a prior relationship we go to the same church, but the networking piece is huge, and connecting with folks as much as you can is huge. It was a little bit different for me. because, like I said, I was doing a fully remote job, so I didn't have a whole lot of local networking folks to ping off of. I'm fortunate that as I went to the SHRM meetings, I went to the PMI meetings. I've done a lot of great networking there, but it was a little difficult, to say the least, because I'm not from Utah. Most of my connections are in Idaho. So it was kind of hard to do that. And with my connections in Idaho not having those connections here, it was, I really had to work at it. But I kind of bounced out off a lot on LinkedIn in order to make that happen. And I talked to people as much as possible, just, but be your authentic self. If you're not a huge, networking person, don't try and force that because it'll look disingenuous and inauthentic. Do your due diligence, work as hard as you can at networking, talk to people in the space that seems safe to you, and keep doing that, and enjoy the ride as much as possible. You'll be surprised the things that have come out of it, and I've made a lot of good networking leads just basically off of the just general communication, and even some of the jobs I ended up not taking. They were like, "Hey, the role's not going to doesn't really fit you because you have a lot more skill and experience than the role you're applying for, but we'd love to continue talking to you and uh, just be a connection for you." So that kind of worked out. So I appreciated that. Sorry, just moving something around here. As I had mentioned before, I've been to a lot of SHRM meetings and PMP, PMI meetings. Just go out there and meet as many people as possible. Like I said, do it in the best space that you can. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room, but you know, try and show up. Do your best to get out there, talk to folks, and get your name out there. Don't be pushy. Just get out there and talk to people, and see where you can make good, genuine connections. That's all you can do is talk to people as much as you can. Be a part of the community, and work hard at it. Build your skills. Uh, I had mentioned that before, that I'm recertifying in SHRM and PMI. Just keep doing that every day. Do a little something. If you like to read books. I mean, that was a huge piece of when I was in the military. Is that I read a lot of books. I've kind of dialed it back since then, but I think I'm going to scale back up as far as doing that. But do it. There's plenty of things on Google. There's plenty of things in LinkedIn. There's plenty of things at various other uh, websites and places like that you can continue to grow those things. Attend professional meetings in which they're doing professional development. Keep doing those things. Getting out there and learning, filling those skill gaps, getting those certifications because they mean a lot. And I'm not gonna lie, they've gotten me a lot of interviews. I have had no shortage of interviews, and a lot of people that I see online and maybe even here have said that they've had some issues getting interviews. Interviews were never the issue for me. I've gotten through so many final interviews that I was just like, "Well, how come I didn't get the job?" But the truth was is that my skills were getting my foot in the door. So that piece I was blessed on. I was pretty fortunate that uh, with my skills, I was able to get in there, get my foot in the door, talk to them, and see where maybe I could fill a skills gap for them. So keep doing that. Take online courses, get into workshops, pursue any certifications, do volunteer work, freelance projects. I know that my counterpart, Chris, uh, with him doing his freelance uh, consulting gig, that landed him a full-time job. So do those things, personal projects, build experience, whatever it is. Get out there and do those things so that you can build those skills and continue to build relationships at the same time. My job search strategy. So my strategy originally was like Gatling gun. I just threw a grenade into a room and just whatever it hits, it hits. I was putting out tons and tons of resumes, tons and tons of applications at the very beginning. For me, I figured that um, it was easy for me to get a job. I thought it didn't turn out that way. To be perfectly honest, in that first month, I was super pumped. I was like, okay, I'm moving on from this job, no problem. It shouldn't be any sort of issue. Turned out it was. 6 months in, it took me quite a while to get there because um, not all of it translates. I had a conversation with another military retiree online. I was chatting with her back and forth in some DMs, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm having a really hard time, getting a foothold." And I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of hard because when they a company looks at you, a lot of them don't have the longevity in the military that you have. Don't know that the military isn't linear. It jumps around a lot. You will have so many different jobs. You will have so many different skills that you are at one point an expert in, and then 10 years down the road, you aren't an expert in it because you don't use those skills. So to kind of relay that to an employer is difficult. It's extremely difficult. They just don't get it. Uh, they're like, well, aren't you just like whomever that my cousin down the street, was in the guard and does that every other weekend. It's not the same. If you're an active duty military member and that's all you do, uh, that may be your job, but there are so many other facets to that job. In fact, half my job had nothing to do with my career field. So it was extremely difficult to explain that. And once I was outside and I wasn't in I didn't transition originally straight across. I had an internship that kind of led me into that. So they got used to me as a person rather than the various different things I was doing. So they figured they could train me and do all the things. It worked as an intern. Didn't work when I jumped across and uh, I moved out of my last job via layoff. And now I'm trying to explain everything to people on the fly really quickly. It just didn't translate. And she was having the same problem. She took a year off, basically to move her family, to build a house, to, get her family settled. And now that she's jumping into it, she's like, this is extremely difficult. And I was like, I know exactly what you're saying. So I've been trying to coach her up on how to manage that. And it was just coincidence that right after I got off the conversation with her, that's when I got the phone call from the state of Utah saying they were hiring me. So it's just a really weird coincidence in that case. But my strategy changed. It changed from shotgunning resumes and applications and doing all those things to much more focused strategies where I wasn't looking just at the job. I was actually looking more at the company, um, especially because I wanted to get out of the 100% remote workspace after floundering for at the end a bit, not because I wasn't doing what I needed to, but because uh, of the change in the regime, change in the executive council that was at the company and their focus on things. And my advocate had left the company. Um, it became very difficult to explain to the executives that were looking at things monetarily differently that uh, it was in their best long-term interest to continue doing the programs I was over. So I wanted to get away from that. That was too much hardship for me. Uh, at the end, I was floundering a lot because they were just like, we don't need that. So now I get the opportunity to at least be in the office a couple of days a week. And that was really what I was looking for. Direct one-on-one. I can look you in the eye, tell you what I need. You can tell me what you need. And I can, kind of, we can do that back and forth feedback that, I didn't really realize that I needed. So that's why my strategy had changed. If, I didn't want to sit at my desk here at the house all the time. Gave me a chance to get out and do that. So target companies that fit the mold, that meet you where you're at that point. Those opportunities, those industries that makes the best sense for you at this point in your life, because it's not always going to be the same. So change that up. See how your schedule lines up with how things work for them. What works. I knew that I wanted to continue working Monday to Friday. I wanted my weekends to be able to decompress and not have to. I wanted it to align with my wife's schedule, to be perfectly honest, so that on the weekends I could focus on my daughter, focus on spending time with my wife, those kinds of things, and not have to work on the weekends. So it had to align with that. And as I had mentioned before, customize your application, customize your resume to what the application says. Yes, the ATSs are out there. I'm here to tell you because I've done that. ATS is there, and it depends on the company, but it's not as heavy as you might think it is. It is a tool. It's not the best thing. We using an ATS, you will miss out on some applicants that may fit that mold, but it's not always going to be the case. As long as you are strategic and you continue to push, um, I'll tell you about an ATS that basically I thought I was a perfect candidate for. I applied, and within like 12 hours, it was like at 1 o'clock in the morning, I got an email that said that they were going to go with different candidates. I just reapplied, basically because I know that the ATS probably for whatever reason missed out on something in my resume or the application and didn't get that. So, and that's the same thing that happened when I was applying with Northrop Grumman, is that even though I fit the mold of what they were looking for those positions, uh, it just kept kicking me out. So every time it said nope, not qualified, or not a good fit, or whatever, I would reapply again, and then I'd get an interview. So don't give up. Just reassess that application. Take a look at the wording in there. Maybe it didn't quite fit with what it was saying. Adjust it a little bit, and then try again. It's nothing personal, and you shouldn't look at it as a personal thing on your end either. It's a business transaction. Uh, it becomes more personal, when you get to that face to face. But get past the ATS or whoever is on the other end of that. That's just like, nope, yep, nope. Just keep going. Give yourself the best shot at succeeding. Uh, Interview prep. So one of my earlier interviews, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. I thought it was hot stuff, and then I bombed one of my interviews. I had an interview with Leighton, and it was going well. And then she asked me this question that for some reason I blanked on. I blanked on the question. Um, and I just gave this like, oh yeah, that's the military, and I could just see their eyes just kind of just glaze over, just like, oh no, definitely not. Just every so often, go back, prep just go through your mind, kind of go through there, try and ask yourself as many questions as possible. Make sure that your questions are consistent with who you are, what you're about, uh, what you expect them to want for their position, and how you can fill their needs. Go back and practice that. Um, Bounce it off other people. Just say, hey, you got 5 minutes to run over some interview questions with me, whatever it may be. But practice that occasionally. Even the best interviewers will jack up an interview. Um, it's just that way. So practice makes perfect. You just go through, you practice that, give yourself a shot. Uh, Make sure that the same answers, even if they're not exactly the same wording wise, come out come out of your mouth the same way every time. Uh, it doesn't have to be exact, like I said, but practicing will give you the opportunity to continually give that consistent answer to whatever questions come out of your mouth and reach their ears. So keep practicing that. Maintain your well-being. So that's a huge piece. Um, I think at the 5 month point, I was starting to slide. Um, to be perfectly honest, I was okay with being at home, being a stay-at-home dad, being a stay-at-home husband, uh, doing things. I'd come to terms with that. Like I said, money wasn't an issue, so I was okay. But it weighs in on you a lot when you start understanding that things aren't working out the way you planned. You thought you'd be back to work in 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months. Now you're on 5 and 6. You're starting to wonder what's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You just got to continue on that path. Keep working hard at what you're doing and maintain your well-being. The things that you love to do that make you who you are, keep doing those things. I love to work out. For a while there, in months, I'd say 4.5, 4.5, 5, I was starting to slide. Uh, like I'd stop walking the dogs as long as I normally do. Like normally I take a very long walk with the dogs. I'd stop doing that. I stopped working out. Um, and that's huge for me because I'm a fitness person. I love to work out. So for me to stop doing that because um, mentally I wasn't quite there, that was a problem. So don't let those things slide. They're just as much a part of your day and part of who you are um, as working. Don't make work in your job search your identity because it's not. It's a piece of you. So don't neglect everything else because of that. Maintain that well-being, eat right, get the proper amount of sleep. If you're into fitness, do your fitness at whatever level is appropriate for you. Uh, and just, if you like to read, read. If you do computer games, do computer games, but don't stop being who you are just because this piece of part of your life is kind of consuming that. Be who you are. Now, so when I accepted this role, uh, I'd already known that if it had come up, I was going to accept it. I was already, I had been reached out by the director of Health and Human Services. Basically, she was like, "Yeah, we're still reviewing you. You have, I know that you've interviewed with like several of our departments, so I'm going to be coordinating that. But just know we haven't forgotten about you. We're following along." So I knew that they were still looking. I wasn't. They hadn't gotten rid of me, and uh, things were still good. So I prepped for accepting the role. Um, because that's a part of it too. Because you haven't truly moved into that position until you've accepted, and even that is a part of the thing. They can still rescind that. So as things come in, review those job offers carefully, consider the compensation, consider your benefits, consider the culture, take all of that into account. If you have to negotiate, then negotiate, but just don't forget that you're still a part of that process and that it's still a back and forth. And, just be transparent. Talk to them about things. I'm pretty fortunate that she gave me the week to get ready. There's some onboarding stuff that I still need to do and work on. In fact, they're supposed to send it to me today. So that worked out. My son's graduating from a trade school this weekend. It gave me the opportunity to do the onboarding stuff this week, go to Boise, watch him graduate from his trade school stuff, and then get back. And then she said, "Hey, you don't even have to. If you want, you can come in on Tuesday, but I'm going to start next Monday because I just want to get back in there, start getting a part of that team, understanding the role and the people around me, and becoming a part of that culture." So she gave me the time to do that and the space to do that. So talk about those things, see how the culture is going to work out, and hopefully it'll fit for you. And really, that's what I have. Any questions? Go ahead, Mike.
So, Rennie, you talked about early in your remarks, you talked about intense self-reflection and that leading to some adjustments in your resume and in your approach and even to the, you know, flipping the priorities around.
Mhm.
Um, that resonated for me a lot because the first time I was ever laid off, I had to go through that same thing, and it gave me a chance to reassess not only what kind of career I wanted, because my wife told me, I was going to go just, if I had to, I'd go flip burgers at McDonald's to provide for the family. And she said, no, 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 no. She said, I've been married to a man who was miserable in his job before I'm done with it.
Right?
Get it right this time. So,
100%.
so yeah, what you said resonated with me a lot. It I had to think about, not only what kind of job do I want, but what's my calling in life. So
Exactly.
sometimes
Exactly.
deep reflect. Anyway, thank you for sharing that. You reminded me of some important things in my past.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Next up is
One
Carl.
one more one more quick question, if I may, Rennie. Um,
Yeah.
so as somebody who has friends in the military or formerly in the military, as somebody who's worked with people from the military, I appreciated what you said. What are some of the particular challenges and how can I help my friends who have military experience find something that will connect for them? Just any thoughts on that? Thanks.
You really have to dig into what their skills are. There's a lot of the military is full of buzzwords, full of acronyms and stuff like that. Most companies are very familiar with buzzwords and acronyms of their own. The problem is with the military is that we don't stick in a position or do particular things, especially if you're an officer or a senior NCO or a warrant officer. In those positions, well, it's a little less for warrant officers because they're stovepipe into those positions. But for commissioned officers and for senior NCOs, um, we move around a lot. It doesn't easily translate because I might be the installations inspection person for a while, for 2, 3, 4 years, and then go over here and I'm an operations manager for 5 years or an HR manager for 6 years. You're just jumping around so much, and the civilian sector doesn't quite understand that, yeah, yes, you have a job. Yes, this is your title, but you are doing so many different things that change around. So you have to explain how not only are you moving positions, but you're also uh, moving those skill sets. There are skill sets that you are not going to use in this new position for years at a time. But how does that translate with how it crosses that timeline into the overall picture of those individuals? So it takes a lot. It takes a lot to really dig into that and to get people that have worked. Basically they came out of college, now they were a worker bee for a while, and then they get into a, a managerial position, to get them to understand that you don't have the same thing going straight from college or your trade school or whatever it may be into the position you're at. It is not the same at all for a military person. It is, you know, so I would just say sit down with them, really talk through the where they were at that position of their place, that place in their life, and see what those skills actually were. Break those skills down for that, where that was in their life, and then see if it applies across the spectrum for where they're at. Maybe some of those skills uh, translate, across the 20, 30, 40 years that they were in the military. Maybe they do not. Maybe you can put those into blocks, but you have to spend the time to do that in order to really get that to work. It's been unique, especially with I've dealt with a lot of colonels that were retiring, and majors and captains and all of them, senior NCOs that were like, "Hey, I was a manager doing this." Well, okay, let's look at your resume. Let's look at your OPRs and your EPRs, and see where we can pull those skills that translate across the board, and maybe some that translate in just sections of your life, and see if we can't get that to plug in for whatever the hiring manager is looking for. I hope that answered your question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. As tradition, we will just go around the Zoom. I'll just call on people at random. So next up is Carl Bird.
Hey, Carl.
And I'll ask him to be
There
unmuted.
we go. Sorry, it took me a few minutes.
No worries.
Couldn't find the little key. Um, so what kind of resonated with me was when you said talking about taking care of yourself, because I fell into that same trap where I told myself my job has to be finding a job, right? So I'm going to do that 40 to 50 hours a week like I've been doing. And I found out I burned out a lot more quickly at looking for a job than I did at working at a job. And had to set some pretty strict parameters for myself. Like I wasn't going to check LinkedIn for any new job postings after 5 o'clock. I wasn't. I was going to spend that time with my family. That I was going to try to go like you said with your dog, but just go for a walk. And my walks when it was hot, I went to Costco and just walked around the Costco
Nice.
store, right? To
Nice.
to get some steps in to make sure that I was taking care of myself physically as mentally. And the mental part was for me, the important part of that I found out was not locking up inside, but it was talking to my wife about what I had done that day, not to show her that I was really looking for a job and not just locked up in there playing games, right? But it was
Right.
to say, this is what I'm doing. Do you think we're on the right path? Or what do we need to do for our future? So um, still positive, but I did have some good takeaways from you today. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I have to say that my wife, it wasn't really into me being an HR person, her being a safety person. She has never really been into like talking about transition journeys. So she, over the 6 months, has actually grown too. Even though I helped her get the job she's in now, she's grown somewhat because now she is actually spending time like trying like in the last month she's kind of been like, whoa, she's been working with her recruiting department and they've been kind of like throwing like job opportunities out my way and stuff like that. And she's been talking to me about like various things that she would never talk about before with recruiting and job stuff. So, you know, it's growth all around. I totally understand that.
I guess that as you said, you mentioned your wife. My wife is a nurse, and I'm a safety guy, right? Safety and auditing,
Mhm.
and so when I've been laid off, she's been doing some more contracting work to help the bills get paid, right? And but
Right.
it was also for her a lot of the things that we learned here from Steve and from the other participants were able to help her as she was searching herself. So
Nice. Nice.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Next up is, I was going to call LaDonna, if LaDonna's there. She may have stepped away. Next up is Dawn.
Yeah, congratulations. That I know
Thanks,
that's
Don.
a big, having had that before. So congratulations and perseverance. I'll
Appreciate it.
say I actually read someone what you talked about taking care of yourself. I read someone on LinkedIn the other day said that exact same thing that they had gotten a job. I realized that's something I probably need to do a better job of because you get all consumed with trying to find you set goals of how many interviews you need to do or resumes you need to do, and so you need to be able to hit those. But yeah, just congratulations. I know how, and it sounds like you've been it for 6 months, and so I was there once upon a time, and so congratulations. And good luck in your next endeavor.
Appreciate it, Don.
All right. Next up is Brian.
Yeah, Rennie, thanks for sharing your story. So many parts of that really resonated with me, especially how, I mean, I haven't been looking for work in decades. And what I've heard in my conversations with Steve and other folks in the industry is the game has completely changed. It's an
So
entire
true.
employer-driven market. And, I became so obsessed, like Don was saying, about, making it your full-time job to find your next
Mhm.
full-time job. And it can just be all consuming and burn you out and figuring out, well, how do I get the right keywords on my resume for the ATS? And I go on LinkedIn and I see some of these positions and like 1,400 applicants. Are you kidding me? And then you see the same job posting 7 days later.
Mhm.
It's like, what's going on here? So I think the importance of networking and relationships is so key. And I mean, half the jobs I've applied for, I'm more than qualified. And the fact
Mhm.
that you don't even get an interview, and I think a lot of that boils down to the ageism play. In my company, we've had 5 rounds of layoffs in the last 14, 15 months.
Mhm.
And in the severance letter, they had a table of all the different positions that were impacted and what the age was of the employee in that seat. And 70 to 75% of those folks were over 50 years old. So I think just, developing the right mindset in terms of how to approach this, I think has helped me become a little bit more resilient. And in fact, I'm working with my former boss. He has a startup app that's focused on kind of health and wellness for Fortune 500, Fortune 1000s. In addition, it can be, kind of positioned to help them simplify strategy execution to hit an important goal.
Mhm.
And we already actually have a new client. It's one of my former clients from my prior employer.
Nice.
So I'd love for this thing to take off, but it's not going to give me a consistent income source, for at least 6 or 8 months down the road. But who knows? So I'm continuing to balance finding a full-time work while, trying to run out that ground ball and we'll see what happens. I just have to have an open mind. And I tell you what, my perception has certainly changed from, the first week I was looking for work till today, which is a little over 3.5 months now. And I
Nice.
definitely thought I'd have it solved for by now. And I've just been completely it was a real eye opener because I heard all these horror stories and it's really been validated. I mean, I've talked to some recruiters and they're asking for a finder's fee up front for a
Mm,
percentage because so many times they'll get a rec from a company and they'll either end up A, canceling it or changing it 3 and 4 times over based on the skills and capabilities that they're looking for.
mhm.
It's just, and a lot of these recruiters says, I've been doing this over 30 years. I've never seen it so ridiculous and crazy. So congratulations to you and good luck on the next chapter. Thank you for sharing your experiences.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. And I agree with you about the age thing. It's basically the thing that nobody wants to say, but it's the truth. And I know that happened even with me. Like I said, I've had no shortage of final interviews, and I truly believe that some of those, I won't say all of them, but I'd say probably 80% of them were based on my age. They saw my gray hair. They realized that I was a lot older than a lot of the other applicants that were out there.
Right.
And they were just looking for a reason not to choose me. Even though I was like, hey, I may be a little bit older, but I am willing to learn anything in order. If there's a skills gap that I may have, you let me know, I'll fill it, no matter what.
Oh
And
yeah. And you see all
they
these
just move
tips,
on.
and you see these tips like, don't include your education years when you graduated on your resume. That sends up a red flag. And a lot
Hmm.
of times when you're applying to these jobs online, they ask you for the years you attended college. So it's like
Hmm.
right there and all the
Yep.
disclosures for, your race and that gender and all that stuff. And it's, even though it's not illegal, well, it's illegal to do that, they can easily, circumvent those
Right.
requirements.
And if you don't know, not to like, unless it is starred, I won't answer it. I'm like, I'm not dealing with it. I don't have time for it. I'm moving on. So unless it's starred, I basically would put the school, I put my degree, I don't put the years. I'm like, that's that doesn't matter. I don't even put my GPA. Doesn't matter. I'm moving on and look at the resume as a whole, look at what I've done, and take from that. If I fill the requirements, you don't need anything else. So
Yep, so true. Thank
agree.
you.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Oh, come on, help me here. Apologize. There we go, gallery. Next up is Angela.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations,
Thank you so much.
on your new job. I just wanted to say it's already been touched on, but that self-reflection part. Um, I'm not going on quite the time frame, but I've really had to look into that whole self-reflection. Where do I want to be? What do I want to be when I grow up? Um, so thank you for explaining that. I appreciate it, and good luck.
Appreciate it. And
Thanks.
good luck to you.
Next up is Travis.
I guess I have to click a couple buttons before you can see and hear me. So I definitely I appreciate your insights. Know that I have a lot of friends that are either current or former military, and the flexibility necessary and kind of the dynamic energy that you have to, focus one way and then the next and the next. That does carry over. And once you're back in the civilian sector, there aren't quite as many, shall we say, resources to help focus you or help provide whatever is necessary. So never having served, that's it's an option, but I'm stoked for you. But I mean, I'm not the first person to say it. The mental health aspect, not getting so narrow-minded or putting on the blinders. I'm in the same place where I do one thing over and over and over and over and over, and then suddenly I'm incredibly depressed. It's 6 o'clock, and what do you do?
Right.
So yeah, being able to broaden your focus. Yes, I always take notes. Uh, broadening your focus to include mental health also provides you that sort of dynamic so that you don't either get bored or complacent. So you re-up your skills. And I know that, I mean, we've anybody with a who's worked long term at a particular company, started with one position and ended with another. How do you summarize that? It's I one job I was at for 6 years and I had six position titles, but they were all generally the same. So I just ended up using the last one, kind of a generic version of it, and expanded it out. And one thing, especially with the change in the almost the gig economy that we have right now, um, some people, whether it's contract work or just side hustle, how you summarize that. Using, while you still do need to enumerate the positions, rather than focusing on the length. So let's say going from a chronological resume to a skills-based resume
Functional. Yeah.
where, yeah, functional. Yeah. That one, I mean, thankfully, I've been able to stay fairly consistent with mine, but I do have a lot of friends that need to have that sort of function. So for you, what was the challenge? Because you said you were in the military for what, 20 years?
24 years.
24 years. Okay. Uh, I mean, you group the skills and the responsibilities, but how does that translate over when you are putting together a resume, or are you just using the kind of dynamics for ATS compatibility?
A combination of both. Really, I knew that chronological wasn't going to work at all, given what I was doing. So I ended up using a functional resume, and I used like, I'd say I kind of grouped it under operational manager for a while. Like there was an
Yeah.
operations manager, there was an HR manager portion of it, and then basically the skills that I had from my last company uh, that functionally fit into a different area. But I used those. Basically, it was only like three or four areas that I ended up using because they covered such a broad area of my skills and what I was doing at the time. So uh, it really worked out that way. Fortunately, as I said before, because I have EPRs, enlisted performance reports that I could pull from, I basically would read through those and go, okay, this falls under this function. This falls under this function. So I would take those, rewrite it based off of that, using and continuing to use the numbers from those to kind of formalize what it actually meant, and then put those under those various different blocks. So
That's great that you have that as reference. I know that in my own positions, I worked there for 6 years, and then when the time comes to re-up, try to write a new resume, you're like, well, I've done a billion things for 6 years, and I had forgotten to, or I was so young and naive that I didn't even save the text from the initial job posting. So just kind of like tippity tappity tap. I kind of did this and I kind of did that and da, 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 da. Thank goodness for resume writing services within the past 10 years. They help out on that. But it's good to have that as reference material, period.
I would say probably the best thing to do, and this is good for anybody, keep yourself a I love me list. That was something that I had to do when I was in the military because part of writing your EPR, I wrote my EPR most of the time. It was my managers that ended up like tweaking it here and there. And then as I got further down the line as a senior leader in the military, I was the one doing the tweaking. But it always starts with the individual. The individual has to basically keep those bullet points of what they did and how it impacts the mission or whatever it is. If you don't keep that, it makes it extremely hard to write an EPR, OPR, resume, whatever it is. So keep a running list of things that you're doing. If there's a project you're working on, write it down. Even if you don't know the final impact, you can fill that stuff in. Just keep a list of those things, whether it's on the computer, you keep a composition book, whatever it is, keep that with you. Write those things down. And as you flesh out those details, add more details to it so that you can write yourself a bullet point or a paragraph statement on what you did further down the line. If I didn't do that in the military, it would be so hard for me now if I didn't know that. But now that I do that regularly, I always know what I've done and I can carry that over.
It's a great recommendation. Thank you so much, Rennie.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks, Travis.
So I'm going to just say what that may translate for the rest of you. It may be called a brag book. So it's basically all that stuff that we teach our kids not to do: brag, play unfair, talk to strangers, all the stuff that this career coach ruins some of your training. But that's yeah. So that's a brag book. And I think one of the things nice about the military is they teach people to recognize their accomplishments, their successes. And I think a lot of us, that's something we talk about, but it needs to be there. So next up is Justin. Now you know how the people that are radio station people wait. Wait. Okay. Okay, let's try Brett. Brett Hadley. Okay. How about Brad Heaton?
Hey, sorry, this is Brent. I'm here. This
Oh,
is Zoom buttons there. The mute buttons there, a little bit different on
okay.
Zoom than what I've used before. Some takeaways that I've had, and I'm definitely not the first person to comment on this, but I guess it just goes to show how much it stuck out and resonated with everyone. Is just keep on being yourself, keep on doing the things that you like to do. Don't get stuck in the grind of, you know what, today the only thing I'm going to look forward, or the only thing I'm going to focus on is X amount of things I'm going to get done. If we focus on just metrics and stuff, I think the quality of what we do kind of slips sometimes. So if we focus on, you know what, I want to take care of myself today. I want to, stay healthy, go to the gym, go to running, take care of my physical body. Then the mental aspect of that's going to be there as well, and that's going to be reflected in the quality of output we have as far as interviewing, applying, whatever we need to do to get to our next step in this career journey.
Agreed.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you so much.
Next up is Brad Heaton.
I was late joining, so I'll just say congratulations and let the next one go.
All right.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate you.
Jason Green.
I got that unmuted before I got posted. That's pretty good. Yeah, congratulations, Rennie. It's been good seeing you. One of the things that I thought you were talking about, I applied to the ATS. This is obviously a perfect job. This is the one I'm going to get and get rejected within a couple hours. What did you change? Did you just guess about what to change on the resume and put something else in?
Early on, I pretty much was just like, well, this is close enough. I would read the job posting. I'd be like, these words are close enough. later on, as I got further along in this unemployment journey, I was actually going, this word is close, but it's not what it says in the job posting. So I would change the words to exactly match what they put in the job posting and then repost. So that's what I was doing. But early on, yeah, I was pretty much like, yeah, that's close enough. They'll get it.
And it just seems like it's English words. It seems like it would be close enough. If if we're basing our company's hiring process on this, it seems like the ATS should be more sophisticated.
Right.
And because you're an HR guy and because it came up,
Mhm.
When that layoff listing comes out with the position and the age, what's that about? Why would the age ever be tied to a position name in that situation?
It doesn't directly say that. Like they might it'll come out with like position, age, longevity in position, all kinds of like different metrics and demographic information. It may or may not have the name in it. The last one I pulled for my previous company had names in there because they wanted them there for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Had
but
names, had positions, had ages, had their birth date, had all the PII in there, and I was like, oh, this is kind of weird, but it shouldn't play into it. But let's be honest. Sometimes they go, well, this person is older. No, they may not be around as long as we want them to, so we're just not going to pick them, whatever that may be.
yeah, I could tell which one was me based on my age and the job description. I could tell which one was my friend that got laid off that same day. Um, but it just seemed like listing the age seemed so not illegal or at least immoral. But because if that's what you're listing, it sounds like that's what you're basing your decision on. Um,
Right.
but just being here in this group, you see a fair amount of gray hair here, and I don't think that's random chance.
It's hard to say.
Yeah,
I agree with you on a personal level. I don't, but I can't say for sure I mean, for me, it was kind of disguised in a benefits thing. So as I pulled the report that had all the names and PII and everything on it, uh, they wanted that for benefits. It was supposed to be a benefits report, but for me, I could see right through it. I was like,
right.
are you sure this is really for benefits? What's this got to do with these ages? So,
Yeah, and a friend of mine, a good friend, who had moved up quite high in the company, called me up after the layoff, and you know, saying, age is certainly not part of it, but it's always on the table when we're making this decision. And not that he was involved in this particular decision, he's just in that general experience, because I guess every part of the company had gone through layoffs at some point or other. But
Just going to interject here. When I got the statement, I got it along with a note that said something to the effect of, see, it's not just old people getting laid off. The wording was not quite that direct, but that was the idea.
and the fact that you have to say it makes you think we were feeling a little guilty about something anyway.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But anyway, I just want to say congratulations again, and thanks for your service, and thank you for upcoming service to the state.
I appreciate it.
We'll see you.
Thanks. Jason, I have two questions. I usually don't ask questions because I figured I'll be asked if I don't ask them, but I don't know if everybody knows there's so many different roles for HR. What will you be doing as a BP? Which for some of you may have had bad hearing and thought he said VP. But I think he said BP. And then the other question I have for you, Rennie, is I think if you have a secret recipe, and maybe you already told it and I didn't listen, but interviews were not a problem. For some people here, they seem to be, and I just wondered if there was a secret thing that you did that started increasing your interviews.
My interviews were actually, I've had a high interview count right from the start. That's why I thought originally I was going to get a job within a few weeks of me leaving the previous company. But like I said, I've got a plethora of skills. I've got 6 total degrees. I've got a bunch of certifications. Schooling and education and experience was never an issue. So they'd see that and be like, oh, but once they, like I said, I think some of it had to be age because they figured a lot of people, when they see somebody come out of the military, they're thinking like 38 or something like that, fairly young. I waited to join the military. I'd already been out in the world for several years and done a bunch of things prior to joining the military. So me coming in, I remember when I was at basic, they were like, "You're old." So I had already had that whole old thing going on, like right from the get-go. So when some of these folks saw me, and I'd see that some of the people that were trying to, that the hiring manager would look at me across the table, and I'd be like, "I'm old enough to be your dad," which was true. So it was interesting as they were justifying those things, and I'd be like, I just walked out of this interview. I feel great about it. I think this is going to be a good thing. And I'd text the wife and be like, "That was a great interview. I think the culture seems good. Yada yada yada." And then like a day or two later, they'd be like, "Oh well, we're going in a different direction, or we closed the rec, or something like that." I'm just like, "What?" So I think some age had to be a part of it. I always brought a lot of energy to my interviews. Like I said, I had one very bad interview. It started off great, and then like I said, I just lost it. I answered in a very poor way, but that's where the practice comes into play, and I haven't had that issue since. But yeah, it's hard to say the reason why I wasn't picked up sooner. My wife and I have like talked through things and thought that it could have been any number of things, but for me it comes back to the fact that I've got gray hair. I am older. um it just is what it is, and I can't really think about it. I can't go back and change any of that, but all I can do is move forward. The position I'm going into is human resources agency partner, not it,
Oh,
on the
okay.
civilian side, it's or the non-government side, I guess it's business partner. But since it's not a business, it's more about helping personnel and agencies within the state of Utah. It's agency partner. So basically, it's the same thing, just different title. But I'm doing that for the Department of Government Operations, which is a part of Department of Workforce Services as a whole.
Okay. Well, Rennie, thank you.
Hopefully that answers that.
It does. I want to put a picture and get everybody here. Yes. Big round of applause for Rennie. Thank you, Rennie, for coming. Thank you for serving our country. And I'll still continue to see you, but I wish you the best. I'm glad that your journey came to an end and you don't have to do this anymore. And this is Rennie Onders sharing his job search story.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.